Jamaluddin, please come to the stage.
Hello, everybody. I was encouraged to write a speech, so I would like to read what I wrote. I'd like to thank the Rakuten Kobo Prize organizers of this award, my fellow nominees, for their brilliant work and their company, and Martha Witt, Kayleigh Pimentel, Jin Yoon, and Nicole Winstanley for their generous support. Without them, I wouldn't be here today. I mean that literally. Had it not been for Nicole's phone call, I wouldn't know this award ceremony was taking place. And I was encouraged to prepare a speech in case I win. In case is a tricky place. So writing this has been an exercise in optimism. In any case, here is what I wrote. William Faulkner learned from Sherwood Anderson that to be a writer, one has first got to be what he is, what he was born. I was born a Hazara, an Ismaili, a Shia, a Muslim. I don't have to speak about Islamophobia or the 1,300 years of animosity between the Shia and Sunni Muslims. That's as clear as the sun. You can figure out on your own if you want the peerless position of the Ismaili sect within that magnificently complex context. I'd like to say a few words, however, about being a Hazara and why I write. I grew up in Kabul, Afghanistan, so did my parents, but my grandparents came from Bamia in the Central Highlands, where the mountains are as old as the time itself. In those altitudes, barely anything grows but hope. The air burns the lungs, and the sun has yet to learn to kiss the skin. It tears into it. My grandparents were one of the first few families who wanted to break from this simple yet brutal life. They set out looking for opportunities in the big city, Kabul, a city that was not kind to them. They were Hazaras, a people who stripped off their humanity by those in power and those who wanted to be in power. In Kabul, they worked jobs others wouldn't touch. In the light of the stars, the women began washing the rich laundry, while the men went to pull carts out on the hostile streets and returned only when the stars returned in the sky. They lived in rental rooms that half the year filled with water, so they had to sleep on wooden decks raised on stilts. In that floating dwelling, they were not allowed to talk loudly or have guests. If you were visiting, you had to wait outside until nightfall, then come in using the darkness as cover. Yet they responded to smirks with smiles and the insults with difference and stayed on. They had the resolve, the patience, and the belief that they were going to make it. It took many hard, long years, but they succeeded. My parents bought a piece of land and built a house and raised me and my siblings in it and sent us to school, a chance life had not afforded them. At school, sitting knee to knee with kids of other ethnic groups, we were all equal, and I could dream up a future as good as my classmates. But I doubt anyone dreamed of anything. At midday, it got so terribly hot inside those bus skeletons repurposed as classrooms that were it not for the scent of our teacher, Shala John's perfume, we could as well be in hell. And that's why I write. Besides the pain and the pleasure of it, I write for I feel a moral responsibility toward people like my parents and their parents and their parents' parents, whose stories constantly had to give way to narratives that were deemed more important. So their sufferings, joys, failures, and achievements went unnoticed because they belonged to a certain social class. As if the awe my mother experienced when looking up at the new moon was somehow less significant than that of a woman who had graduated university and her father was a diplomat. Just take the example of now. I'm aware and do not undermine the suffering of the people of Palestine and the people of Ukraine who are being slaughtered indiscriminately by evil forces as we speak. I'm a writer. I dedicate as much time to maintain my humanity as I do to learn my craft. I feel the agony of the Jewish hostages. and their families. But why have all the lights gone out on Afghanistan? Why have all the camera lenses turned elsewhere? Is there a right way to suffer, and the people of Afghanistan are doing it wrong? There is a gender apartheid underway. Our women are reduced to sex slaves, completely ostracized from the society. Our girls have been kept out of school for 1,005 days. According to a recent United Nations report, 69% of people do not have enough food. We sell our kidneys, and when we run out of those, we sell one of our children to feed the rest. Isn't this dying? Or it doesn't count because we are dying in the hands of ignorant men who are also Afghans. Mahmoud Darwish, the Palestinian poet, believed that Palestinians were fortunate, that their enemy were the Jews or the world would not take notice. I sometimes wonder how much God must dislike us to not even consider us worthy of the right enemy. But it's not time for despair. It's time for hope, for kindness, for light. It's time to write unapologetically without compromise or exaggeration, without accusation or self-pity. It's time to remember and to write about who you are and when you were born. It's time to write honestly and proudly and well and beautifully. For in our times, writing, like breathing, is a political act. Thank you.